Okay, guys, welcome to the next version of the Rev3 Endurance 50-hour challenge Zoom call series. The reason I say that, we've had several other ones, and those are already recorded. They're on YouTube. There are links on the website. This will be Zoom call number 4, and then we will have Zoom call number 5 the week of the race. Reason we're doing that is because we'll be 1 week out, so we'll have a better idea of the weather. We'll have some more information that I might not be able to answer tonight as far as the camping and lodging, and are our rooms filled up at the hotel? How much camping do we have at the actual park? And those kinds of things. What I'm going to do tonight is, as we start the call, I'm going to kind of scroll down and I'm going to take you guys over to the website. So we'll go down through the website, and I've made some changes over the last few weeks as things come up. And then that way, when you guys are looking at the website for information over the next few weeks leading up to the race, you kind of know where to look and see if there's any updates. One of the updates will be I'll add the outside maps. There's a couple outside maps that I use, and I know in the past people have asked me what maps. And I'm going to highlight 2 links to where you can get those maps, and I'll get those out probably this weekend. I'll do a couple tweaks to the maps this weekend. But let me set my I'm going to share my screen, and that way you guys should all be able to see that. And we'll just kind of go down through the website, and I'll answer some questions during the call, but I'll answer more at the end. We have until 7:45. We have a staff call at 7:45. So I want to kind of keep on track tonight. But of course, we're on the website. It's got the primary information, May 11th through the 14th. The race is actually May 12th, of course. But we are requiring everybody in any expedition level race, or most 24-hour races, we want you checking in the day before. We want to get your maps in your hands. There's lots of strategies, any questions that you might have. So our pre-race briefing for this actual race will be on the 11th. Check-in has been updated on the website. So as we go down through that, I'll kind of explain some of the little changes that we made on the website. Remember, it's a 50-hour race. I actually had, between when the race started and when you finished and we had the awards, I was giving you 54 hours. It's a 50-hour race. So I've adjusted our schedule a little bit. When we go down through, I'll explain in a little bit more detail. But the race description, of course, it's the same, but I really want to highlight, I watched several of you guys as you raced in the Epic this past weekend. I was watching you online. The Epic's a challenging race. Didn't want a lot of teams to do it as a training race, but at the same time, it is a great training race. The philosophy is just a little bit different, because you're going to be, there's a couple sections of the course that you're going to overlap. The checkpoints are going to be in different locations, of course, and we're using a bigger map than what they used because our footprint's bigger with this race. But if anybody else was at the race or watched it, you'll notice that nobody cleared the course. So I didn't want people to go in thinking, hey, this is a 24-hour race, we're going to clear this course just like we're clearing the 50-hour race. If you look at the description of that race, it's, I think, 120 miles. Our race it's 140 miles. You have 120 miles in 24 hours, or you have a race that's 50 hours, that's 140 miles. All right. So our race is 26 additional hours, and our trekking is actually less than what was in the Epic. So those of you who did that race and said, man, who's going to be able to go out and get those really far points? The goal in our race is to clear the course. I mean, really super fast teams are going to clear this course in over 30 hours. But the philosophy is it's an eco-challenge type of race where everybody clears the course. Some people will clear it faster than the others, but in order to get the medal, the belt buckle medal, you have to clear in 50 hours. And I've set it up so that you can walk a lot of the course and still be able to clear it and still get some rest. So it's a matter of how much rest do you get, and what's the water level going to be. And there's a couple other determinants that will make a decision, and we might alter the course depending on what the weather is. They had great weather this weekend, didn't get too hot. The river was flowing fairly nice. In May, the river still should be up for us as well. So if we kind of look at the website, You know, the description's the same, but remember, the goal is everybody's going to clear. I and Christy and I, when we're on the course, and Robert and anybody else on our team, our goal, guys, is we're going to encourage you to clear the course, to finish the race. Now, that being said, you can sit and transition for 5, 6, 7 hours, regroup, re-energize, get some sleep. You got 2 different transition areas that you're going to be going through. So your goal is don't give up. Keep going. We want to see you cross that finish line. We want to celebrate that at our cookout at the end, and that's when we'll be giving the awards. So this race is also different than our other races because we have rolling awards. Nobody will get an award until we do the awards ceremony because we're going to announce your stats. Everybody's going to be recognized in the pre-race briefing, every team, and at the awards ceremony. Every team is going to be recognized. So your goal is to finish that course. Can you finish unofficial? You can. If somebody really needs to drop, you can do that and still get that belt buckle. But we want to recognize those teams. So one exciting thing that's happened over the last 2 months, we are a North American World Series race now. 2 of our races this year, Cowboy Tough, as well as this race, is a World Series race. Brand new. It's North American Series. As you can see, we have a couple pictures from some of our previous races. I think several of these pictures have racers that are actually in this race. I know Alana's actually helping us with stats. Of course, my partner in crime is up here. I believe this is one of our girls from the beaches. Nick's in this one here. So I know we have a couple of you guys recognized in here, and we always kind of like to give out recognition, but that's exciting for us. We have 2 races in the series this year and hope to be more involved in the future, building that series and that points competition. Even though points aren't all that important, it's kind of cool to really elevate yourself and race in that world level race. We've hosted, several of those in the past, and in the future there might be another race on our schedule that is actually a World Series, not a regional qualifier, but a World Series race. Cowboy Tough was that race for about 5 years. Cowboy Tough is the other one this year. That's a North American Series race for Adventure Racing World Series. So we'll be setting those courses up the same. There's certain criteria. So one of the things that has to happen in this race is every team has to have a group picture, and they have to have a black backdrop. So we will have that in our race. Everybody will be racing in race bibs for the race. However, the thing about bibs, you never wear them again. So what I'm doing different in our race is we've gotten a lot of compliments on our picking tops. So this is a picture. I can't see it myself because my camera is not zoomed in, but every racer will have this on for their group photo. We want you to start in the race. If you're chafing, it doesn't quite fit right, something like that, down the line, you can take it off. That's a great souvenir for training and using in the future, though. But unlike a race bib, you're never going to wear again. This is something that you can wear. Our staff wears that type of shirt at every race, but it had AR World Series logo on the front and everything. Where's the race taking place? Well, let's go to race features. UTM plotting. So you're going to have UTM plotting on maps like this that are going to be 1 to 24. Now, all your checkpoints aren't going to be on that map. We're going to give you a large scale map that might be 1 to 60. I think it's 1 to 65. Every plot, every checkpoint in the race is pre-plotted on that map. However, the scale is so small, even though those plots are going to be pointed and set on that map, you're not going to be able to navigate the point because it'll be too small in their quadrants. So I actually, on those maps, I have about a 2.5 by 2.5 square. And that 2.5 inch square represents a map at this scale, which is going to give you a lot more terrain features to allow you better clues on finding those checkpoints. It's a trail intersection, a stream, a high point, a saddle, those types of things. So you will have to plot 3 UTM maps. You'll get those at check-in. You'll get them as soon as you check in for the race. And those will be waterproof paper, and they're on a laser, so they shouldn't run at all. However, the big scale map is on waterproof paper, but it's on an inkjet, so it can tend to run when it gets wet. So make sure you bring, waterproofing type of stuff or Ziploc bags. Race location, once again, is going to be in Shenandoah County. We're going to base everything out of Seven Bends State Park. They are going to offer camping. We're working out the logistics for that now. It'll be a donation to the Friends of Seven Bends. It's their nonprofit. They'll be kind of handling that for us. There's no potable water, though, at the camping. And what I'm trying to work right now is it's $20 per person, and that covers Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night if you need to stay an extra night. So it'll cover 4 nights, and that $20 is going to a donation to the nonprofit of the Friends at Seven Bends. They'll be there kind of managing that when you guys check in. They're going to mow the fields, and they'll have the campsites kind of laid out. No campers. On our website, we'll add a campground that's 1 town away down in Edinburgh. I will add that. And then our host hotel, I think, has 20 rooms blocked for the race. The challenge we're going to run into this weekend is college graduation. Both Christy and I are affected by that. I am going down to Virginia Tech on Wednesday. My daughter graduates on Thursday. Her son has ceremony starting on Friday, and then his actual ceremony will be on Saturday. So we're going to be balancing that, but that means we're on the 81 corridor where our race takes place. So we have JMU, Virginia Tech, 2 major schools on that road, as well as BMI and several other schools that will be graduating that weekend. So hotel rates are a little bit higher. So I did arrange to make sure that it was inexpensive to stay in the park. And we'll be giving you more details in a racer email communication in the week before. Don't worry about sites selling out. You're the only ones that can camp there, and they'll have plenty of sites for our teams. Another thing I added or updated was the estimated distances, just so that you guys know when you'll get access to your gear bins. And when you're packing those gear bins, remember, if we're on an 80 or 85 degree day, it's going to be sitting out in the sun, guys. So don't put any chocolates in there. Okay. They're going to definitely melt. Take it from me, from experience. I've been in some races, and I love good Snicker bar, but man, that Snicker bar, when it's all melted, doesn't taste very good. Now, it could be a 70 degree weekend, but if you really like chocolate, think of things like M&Ms, because it's coated and it won't melt. But remember, the gear bins, we're going to move those for you, and they could be sitting in the sun for several hours before you get there. So just food for thought. One major change is, instead of having 3 transition areas, we're only going to have 2 transition areas. My final permit, my first TA was rejected. Not a major issue. You'll be coming off the water and going back onto your bikes. You have to bike 8 miles to the next TA. There is a 7-Eleven that I'm going to highlight in the pre-race briefing, less than a half of a mile from where you pull out of the water. So if you really like, hey, I need to get some Gatorade, or I need some food now, I've gone through all my food that I packed. I don't know if I can make it 8 miles. It's open 24 hours. You'll be able to go up there. So what I'm saying is, bring a little bit of cash with you, or a credit card, so that you can go to 7-Eleven and then get back on your bike, and you have 8 miles to get access to your gear bin. So your gear bin will be in TA1. You're coming off your bike. It looks like it's a 12-mile, but that's mainly road biking, no mountain biking in that section. And then you have a 6-mile trek for that night orienteering course. That will definitely be a night orienteering course for everybody in that section. Maybe super fast teams might catch some of that during the day. Yeah, actually, it is possible, because if the water is moving like it's moving right now, you'll be getting off the water a lot sooner than I anticipated. But you'll get access to your gear bins twice in that area. And then when you come off of leg 7, you get access to your gear bin and to your cars. Now, the only hiccup here is our transition vehicle is only transporting bins every 2 hours. You might be able to get from TA1 to TA2 in 1 hour and 45 minutes. So when you're laying out your strategy, make sure you have an extra pair of shoes and some food and those kinds of things in your car or your tent or something like that, because you might have to wait for 15 minutes to half an hour for our transportation to get there for gear bins. I have my gear bins being shifted every 2 hours. For our crew, it's an hour round trip for those gear bins. So I have it scheduled that they'll leave every hour, on the hour for every other hour, so that we can get things in. So the bad part is if you come in and it's 8 a.m. in the morning, and our truck just left at 8:05, then that gear has to sit there for 2 hours before it's then picked up and transported to the TA. That crew already has to do 15 round trips during that time period. So that's 15 hours of driving for my transition crew, moving bins back and forth. So what we ended up doing is we broke it down and we said we're going to do it every 2 hours. So I wanted to let everybody know that you will have a second TA. The problem is your gear bin might not be there, but you have access to your car. And then I put in the actual mileage in there as well. If we scroll down a little bit farther, we went over where the race starts. This is the actual, that address, GPS wise, will get you to our check-in as well. There's 2 entrances to the park, but this is the one you want to go to. Transition opens Friday morning. So what's important about Thursday is from 3 to 5, and this schedule will be updated a little bit more. So you check in at 3 o'clock, but check-in is a multi-phase process. You're going to check in first and get your maps, your shirts, your bibs, and those types of things. However, your check-in's not done. You also have to have a gear check. We're going to make sure all your bike lights work. You have a front and a rear bike light. You have a medical kit for your team. Because it's a longer race, I have to be very strict on our required gear, headlamps, those types of things, a rain jacket, a smart wool top in case we get, 50-degree rain that evening. We can't have you shivering in the woods while you're waiting for a vehicle to pick you up. So we are going to have gear checks. The first gear check is when you check in. We're going to make sure your bike is operating. You've got your front and your rear lights. That being said, I have a list a little bit farther down that highlights all the mandatory gear. One major change in the mandatory gear is we are no longer requiring a climbing harness. I hate saying that, but because some of our climbing for some of you would take place during the night, we cannot get insurance. So we have to remove it from our course because teams will be spread out over 12 hours at this time. And that means several of you will be doing that in the dark, and they will not issue us an insurance policy to host the race. So had to remove that. So the stream that you were going to go over via ropes, you have options. You can run 1.5 miles, 2 miles to cross a bridge, or you can cross that stream. What I will tell you is this is an adventure race. You will be crossing water multiple times. You will have wet shoes. So I highly recommend at least 3 to 4 pair of dry socks in your transition bins and in your car. You will be crossing streams unless they are flooded waters. None will be over waist deep. But you'll be crossing 3, maybe 4, depending on your route options, streams to get access to checkpoints. So it is the weekend before, it's mid-May. I was in the water this weekend in a canoe, so it's not that bad. And I'm giving you hints. So bring dry socks, bring dry shoes, bring an extra pair of shoes, maybe in your gear bin, bring an extra pair that you have in your car. Remember, we run in these races. We have lots of gear that we train with. So I know everybody has at least 3 pair of shoes. So that was one of the major changes is transitions are changed. And then the rope section, you weren't climbing mountains on the rope section. You were traversing a river or a stream, a fairly wide stream. I'm going to add it to a race in the future because it was so cool that the way we had it set up. We had to, if you're a team and you came to it, only one team could manage a rope at a time. But because it's nighttime, they disallowed that in my first transition area because of spectators and the amount of traffic. There's not enough area for the number of teams coming out. We're going to have over 120 racers on the course spread out. And they're afraid that there's no parking lot there and that cars will be blocking for the general public and stuff like that. So we said no problem, and we just moved our transition to TA2. But I am going to highlight, like I said, where 7-Eleven is. Most of the other stuff is fairly basic. On this page, you'll see that we have sample maps would be the Massanutten and Great North Mountain, but I will actually send you 2 links to those different maps that you can get. I think they'll go anywhere from $11 to $18. We are allowing outside maps. Sometimes those outside maps might have additional trails on them, more details, and those types of things. We talked about transitions. The next thing is I have several teams flying in. So if you want to pre-order the 27-gallon tote the week before the race, like I said, we'll send an email out announcing the next Zoom call. You can pre-order it, and we'll pick them up for you. For the teams that are flying in, we're going to actually go to Costco or Walmart, and we're going to pre-order, if we need to, 25 to 30 bins, and we'll have those ready for you when you get there. So those of you who are flying in and renting cars and stuff don't have to worry about those. We have a Walmart in Woodstock. We have a Costco in Harrisonburg. So we have access to those. And that weekend before, I'll be shopping for some of the food that we're going to have for the race, for the staff and post-race ceremony. So we'll pick those up. But I'm going to ask for that information a week ahead of time, because my goal is I'm going to pre-order them to make sure that they have plenty in stock. So this bin right here, when in doubt, and you don't want to travel with it, just let us know. We'll pre-order it. I think the cost is going to be like $15, depending on where I get the actual bin. And when you're done with the bin, we use these at all our races. So if you want to say, I don't want it, you guys can keep it. Hey, it'll fit in with everything else that we have in our warehouse in our trailer. Because these things are great and stackable. That's why we use these, because they're going to be on the trailer that transports your bins. That way we're guaranteed when we put straps on, your stuff stays there. Now we will still offer that you can drop your paddling gear. I know that was one question somebody asked earlier. If you have your own personal paddling gear, we are going to have a drop for paddling gear when you get out of the canoes, but you have to have a paddle bag. It can't be just a plain trash bag that's going to rip. If you want to put your gloves, let's say you had booties, a paddle and a PFD, you have to have what's called a paddling bag or a big duffel bag, something that can hold this. It cannot be a giant trash bag that's going to rip on us, because my crew that's going to be driving that back, they have to have that it might be in their car, it could be in the back of a truck, and it's going to have to be transported 40 miles. And I don't want things blowing out of our trucks and so forth. So you can pre-order those. That'll be the week before in an email, but please feel free to bring your own. When you get your bibs issued, Christy will be working registration for us. Might be somebody else there, but our bibs a lot of times will have extra numbers on the bottom. So if you're team 101, you're going to have 2 other numbers at the bottom that you can rip off. You're going to rip that off and put that number on your gear bin. Okay. You're going to tape it on. We're going to have tape there for you to tape that on, so that you know when you come to transition. We're going to try to put them in number order, 2-person and 4-person teams. They're going to be left on our trailer. We're going to unload the trailer, but you guys will load the trailer. We'll strap them down, but when you check in the race morning, you take your tote over. We might have a staff member on the trailer, but you're going to bring that physical tote to the trailer. We'll load it on and we'll unload it. And then when you're done with your tote, when you officially put it on the trailer, that means no more access until we get it to the next transition area. Too many people interacting, pulling things out. It has to be managed a certain way for us. Logistics wise, it's going to be sitting in a certain area in transition. So we know you are checked in and ready to race when your totes are loaded onto that trailer. One number will go on your tote. The other number will go on your bike. So that way, when you're out and your bike's sitting in transition, we're going to know, oh, team 101 is still out on the track. Team 102 is still out on the track, because their bikes are sitting here, because your bikes will be identified. Very small number, not a big number on your bike, little tiny zip tie, put it on one of your cables and so forth. Keep your bikes together. Most of you will leave your bikes on, the lights on, flashing, especially your rear one at night. That way it helps us manage it. We are using Dominion tracking. They will be tracking our event. They're going to be on site to track it. But once again, we do run into issues with cell towers and so forth. I'm working with them so that it downloads the history. So when you do hit a tower post-race, you're going to be able to click and see what route you took. So it's something cool we're working on with them. They're going to highlight the checkpoints. We used them for one race already. We had some hiccups there. They're actually going to be on site and monitoring this with us. And we have one person on our crew that's full-time is dedicated to tracking and posting on social media and so forth. We talked about lodging a little bit already. We're going to add the 7 bins. When Friends of 7 Bins lets me know what their rate will be, that donation to the nonprofit. I will also put the other campground because several people wanted to bring their campers. The only campers that will be there will be staff. Everybody else, because there's no potable water, no hookups, everybody else can tent camp or car camp, but we cannot have campers in the field. It's a state park. It's not set up for that. They did get a grant and they are redesigning the mountain biking trails in the next year in this park in the next 2 years. So it's going to be exciting to see how those develop because our goal is to continue to host races there. I have a sample of the awards. Ultimate goal is get all the checkpoints. I think we're at 50 checkpoints right now for the course. I have one checkpoint I need to move after this last weekend, and then I'll start printing the maps shortly for the overview of the race. All my permits have been approved, so now we're pretty much locked in and ready to roll. We have division, so spent a crap load of money on these awards, okay? So we have these really nice walnut plaques. You're going to pose with those plaques in the picture, but you're not taking those plaques with you because what we're going to do is we're going to do an engraving, and for every year when somebody races in the 2-person co-ed division or the 4-person co-ed division or the 4-person male division, it'll be like a dog tag will be mounted on that plaque. So every year, whoever wins the race, that category will hold that plaque up, and you'll see all previous year's racers on that. Now, we do have other awards for you that we'll be placing in the first overall. We'll get a nice plaque, but we spend a lot of money on these really nice plaques. So our goal is we're just going to rotate them, and they will always have all the winners on it. So your name will be added, a week or two after the race, in a new dog tag added to the bottom of that. Race bios. So team list is pretty up to date. We have 2 openings right now. I had a couple teams merge this week. Our cap is 45. We already sold out. And if you sent me your bio information, I kind of had it. I've been highlighting. Over the last month, we didn't have a lot of highlights because we had our other race and I was traveling some. But we have a bio page, everything that you sent me. Our goal is once the race starts, your new team picture will be loaded in this location. And also down at the bottom, we're going to start adding your results. So these are things I'm working on. It's a matter of technology and can we do this on the fly? Can we update at night, which will be a challenge. But if you scroll down through here, everybody's kind of giving us a little bio. I highlight a team every few days on Facebook. And I think right now, a few of you are still sending me your bios, but we're down to, oh, my boys here, Fat Boys. They raced in the Epic. I put their Epic picture up on Facebook probably 10 years ago, and they're still racing. And my first time seeing them in a while. So they were highlighted earlier this week. And of course, Matt Wilson is racing. I think Matt signed up at the beginning of the year for every one of our races. So it'll be great to see Matt out on the course. And he was a navigator once. And then probably in the next few days, we'll start going down to the next team, which will be F3 Forest Clowns. They've already changed their names. But I'll be submitting a couple of these as we go. We still have more teams to highlight, but we will give you all new bio pictures when we take them at the race. I'm trying to think of if we can put together a results page, but I'm kind of our IT guy and I'm the race director. So I kind of wear a couple different hats. Go back to our page. And if you watch the video at the bottom of the site, that kind of highlights actually a couple pieces of the course. Cancellation, it'll only be an act of God. That means like a hurricane or something like that. It's adventure racing. Hopefully Mother Nature treats us fairly well. I'd love to have, 50 degrees at night, 70 degrees during the day, no wind and sunshine. But Mother Nature, sometimes she can be a little bit challenging for us. So, however, May, it's not June, July, it's not April or March where you can get some snow and bad storms. Kind of pick the best time of the year other than October. October is another great time to have a race because you get the cool evenings and nice days. If it's hot, just remember to hydrate. And I will demonstrate water bottle that I bought for like $11. It has a filtration system built into it. I'll put that on the website as well. Volunteers, if you have friends and family that are coming and they feel like they want to stay up all night, work in a transition area, send me your email. I need to get sleep. So, so does some of my staff. Right now, we're going to work 6-hour windows overnight, but we're going to be up for 2 nights. And of course, Thursday, the day before the race, we never really sleep. So if you have friends and family that want to volunteer or other teammates that aren't racing with you, I need to get their information sooner versus later because we're kind of breaking out what we're doing at this time. If you have somebody that might want to help us sweep the course, that's an option as well. So my email is Mike at REV3Endurance.com. It's on our website, I think, as well. And I'll highlight it in the last email. But we're pretty much fully staffed. It's a matter of, it's nice to have extra people helping. It helps us, throughout the 50 hours that we're actually managing the race. Also, it makes sure that we're alert and we're making less mistakes while you're on the course. And the biggest thing that we need staff for is any kind of emergency call. Christy and I learned that a few years ago with Conquer the Mountain. And at that time, we said, we're never doing a race of 500 people ever again. We didn't get to see any of the award ceremonies. We got no sleep. But everybody came off the course safe and sound. 1 medevac, 7 ambulance calls. So it was a trying weekend, and that just kind of took the fun out of it for us. So we like these races sizes that they are now. That's why we have our sellout limit. And we want to experience that journey with you. And our goal in this race, guys, is to push you through. Now, I do have cutoffs because of water safety. And they are highlighted, I think, in the TA area right now on the website. They are not. I will add those, but we will cover them in the pre-race briefing. We're starting the race an hour earlier, but you have to be on the last paddle section by 7:30 p.m. On Friday, the day the race starts. That means you still will be coming off of water after it could be dark when you get off the water. And the second cutoff is TA1. You have to have left TA1 by 7 a.m. on the Sunday of the race. If you're that far behind at that point, we still want you to make it to that finish line, but you have no chance of clearing the course if you're not out of TA1 by 7 a.m. We're going to have people out of TA1 before midnight on Friday. So if you're still there on Sunday morning, then got in a little bit over your head. We want to make sure you can make it back to the finish line safe and sound and get some food in you. But we do have 2 cutoffs. The first cutoff, it's just short coursing you. You miss the second paddle section, and we send you right to TA2. So you'll miss a couple checkpoints. You'll be unofficial in the race. You get a different medal, but you're still in the course. You're still racing. It's just your classification is called unofficial at that time. We don't want anybody paddling on the river too much after dark, even though that section doesn't have any rapids. It's still dangerous. And our goal is, I paddled it, I floated it. I know how long it's going to take, depending on the water level. It means you'll be coming off the water about an hour after dark, which you'll doing some mild paddling if you get on by 7 p.m. So I think I've kind of covered everything that I wanted to on the website. Overview, a few of the changes that we had. We are going to have Tread Productions on the course. We're going to have Vlad, who shot the Epic this last weekend, and then Alan Bushnell. So 2 photographers and a videographer on the course. Tread Production will be doing pre-race interviews at your check-in. So after you get your photo, some of the teams will be going over and doing interviews down by the water, wherever they set up to do some of these interviews. We're highlighting 15 to 20 teams in these interviews. In the next call, we'll kind of tell you a little bit more, maybe post-race ceremony on what's happening with the production footage and how that's going to be used over the next 2 years. I think I'm going to try to highlight over 20 teams, but it all depends on their resources for the event. With that being said, I will stop my share and go back into this mode where I'm looking at the same screen. And I'll open up for any questions. We have a staff call on the same line at 7:45. So I have 6 minutes to answer any of your questions. But before I do that, I'm going to stop my recording.